the cloud. Here we are. Okay. Hello, everybody. I hope the stream is now coming through. Let me see. I had some issue with the broadcast. Okay, I see it happening here on LinkedIn, so it should be okay on other channels. Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Sudha Jamthe, and you're here with me for Sudha Live. Sudha Live is my live stream that I do to bring in AI opportunities. And always there is something that is happening in the AI world that is top of mind. So you end up bringing a discussion on it or bring an invited guest for like 10 minutes. So today it's just me, and I'm going to try and keep it for half an hour. And those of you who are regulars who are going to come back and watch this later, I apologize. I do this at 6 p.m. California time, 9 p.m. East Coast time, and it's morning in Singapore. But I have to do this much earlier, but I didn't want to break that cadence. So bear with me, watch the recording, come back, and I'll go back to my usual time. So it works out well for Asia morning time. Okay. Okay. So what are we talking about today? One thing I definitely want to, remind you all as we start talking about AI opportunities, go back to life as usual. The Ukraine war is still going on. And so, the best thing we can do is, share the news and make sure that there is no misinformation, and do our part. And my student, Vlad Maisla, was here last week, and he shared about his newsletter for Ukraine, which I believe you will, be able to subscribe and get a 5 minutes update on Ukraine and know the latest in the news and latest opportunities on how you can contribute and help. So thank you for that. And another bombshell that happened that is kind of, in the social media world is about Twitter. And I live on Twitter. I've been on Twitter for 15 years. I'm there every morning. I used to say good morning. Now I, post more meaningful tweets and the like. And even this Sudha Live is being streamed on Twitter. So some of you are watching it on Twitter. And so there is this whole news over the last week of, Elon Musk taking over Twitter, good and bad, and then, crazy tweets that he's posted. So I'm not going to comment on that personally, but I saw and there's been a lot of, analysis and comments and, a lot of stuff going on. So I don't want to talk about it in that way. But I found a very interesting link that was shared by somebody I respect, who I worked with in the past, Paul English. He is an angel investor, multiple times CTO from Boston, and he posted a beautiful message, which I thought it's interesting. So he basically said, the whole conversation about, one person taking over Twitter, and, it was the whole discussion was about free speech. And so, how social media needs to be managed so that it allows everybody on all sides of the aisle to have a discussion and not one side policing the other. And so there are people who are giving this in a very biased way. So what Paul English did was he said, if I were the CTO of Twitter, and he's an awesome CTO, if you check out his bio, you'll know he's done amazing work. He was a CTO of Kayak, the travel site, and has a bigger history even before that. So he basically said, here's what I would do if I were the CTO of Twitter. And he logically listed the kind of things he would do. So he said, I would create authenticated accounts to improve content quality and mute the trolls. And then he said he will bring keyword experts to improve the content quality. He will bring AI to identify and bury hate speech. This is a big one. That is why I thought it is relevant to our conversation when we talk about AI opportunities. Other than that, I'm pretty active on Twitter. And, how do you bury hate speech and those that call for violence? And if you see, there's a reporting in all of the social channels that's there, that, you can actually, block people or report something that is not appropriate according to you. And how do you get AI to do that is based on data. So I want you to think about it. Wherever you are in the world, whatever area of work you are working on, if there is a consumer touch point, there is going to be things that you will filter out, and you'll block certain keywords. But how do you get an AI to do that? What kind of data would you do? And if you're thinking about Twitter, how would you do that? And then, of course, he has a whole bunch of other things that he has. Maybe an aggressive push would be an auth system, like a Web3 authentication platform and the like. So I thought that would be a interesting thing to get you thinking about this, because we all have a responsibility beyond, even if you're excited about AI and you're thinking about it from your job, your career, there's so much opportunity out there in everywhere. If you're active on Twitter, it's great. If you're thinking of social media, if you're active on any social channels, think about it, how they're doing it, how you could improve it and what's the right way to do it. And even if you're not involved, how would you collect data to build the AI? What does that look like? Okay, so I wanted to share that. And this week is doubly exciting for me. Last week, I literally did this session from Boston Logan Airport. Now I'm back home in Silicon Valley. I had just started the class with Barcelona Technology School Masters and UX design students, teaching them AIX, which is Artificial Intelligence Design, which is the same name of my book, also AIX, Designing Artificial Intelligence. And that same book is the textbook for my Stanford class, Artificial Intelligence Bootcamp for product and business managers. So it's very happy time for me when I get to meet a new batch of students, engage with them. Most of what I share here is what I continue as a conversation with my student alums after they finish up any of my classes in any of my channels or any of my places where I teach. So with the Barcelona Technology School students, welcome. If you're watching this, welcome in joining us in changing AIX design to make it more human-centered design and to bring AI ethics into the human design. And I heard from one of my students about having a conversation about AI ethics in a room full of engineers who did not know what was AI ethics, and they were kind of challenging her on, do we need AI ethics in building AI systems? And so AI ethics is not something out there. So one of my experience in teaching AI ethics has been that whenever I talk about AI ethics, there's a lot of material that's been published talking about how AI is biased and it leaves behind some marginalized groups out there. So everybody is thinking about AI ethics as something that's affecting the other. And if they seriously lack empathy, like this team that was, talking to my student, they're just thinking, I don't care. But the reality is AI is pervasive. It's everywhere. It's in every possible space. And so I want to bring you an example where AI has begun affecting all of us. I mean, it's affecting all of us in so many ways that we are not aware of. But I want to bring a discussion today about Bossware. So for those of you who are new, who are joining here, I usually share AI opportunities. And I'm going to discuss about Bossware and share some things related to this new concept of AI snooping around at our workspace. And what does that mean in an ethical sense? What is your role? And then I started the whole my new class at Stanford Continuing Studies with my what I said just now, right? The AI Artificial Intelligence Bootcamp for product and business managers. It started out with 40 plus students. Now I have 50 plus students, and it's just unbelievable. It's on Zoom. I'm trying my best to, connect with all my students. So I hope some of you are watching this and you get more opportunities. Come back and ask me stuff so I can, share more resources. I have tons of resources, learning resources for especially people who are in product management or UX design or digital humanities, or roles that you're not coding, or if you're a coder, you want to understand this holistically to understand the business side of it and the product dimension of it. So I teach about how you should look at AI and understand AI as a technology. I believe everyone needs to understand AI as a technology. Even if you're a business person, you can use no-code AI, which is another area of my work, to understand AI with the depth of technology. How to understand AI as a product. A lot of people build AI applications, but application is not product. So how do you productize it is to think like a product manager, even if that's not your role, even if you're not product owner. If you're proposing to bring AI into your company to solve a business problem, is it going to be an application? Is it going to be productized? What is the difference? How do you think like a product manager? What kind of questions do you ask? That's kind of my area of expertise. In all my classes, I bring it back to product management. The third thing is thinking about AI as a business. And AI is many things for many people. There are a lot of startups out there. There are technology companies. Then there is AI implementations that is happening as solutions or products in enterprise and in cities and so many other application layers. So what is the difference between AI as a market for technology, AI as a market for applied AI? So we'll have a discussion. That's the third topic. And the fourth thing is AI as a AI as a business, AI as a market. AI as a market is what I told you about the two markets, but AI as a business is how do you build AI to create business impact? Is it going to reduce cost, create a whole new innovation and take you to new markets, new customers, new way of thinking, like autonomous vehicles? Promise of autonomous vehicles is take us to new places, or is it going to be increasing revenues? So that's how I approach my teaching everywhere. So AI as a product, AI as a technology, AI as a business, AI as a market. So you're going to hear a lot more as I'm continuing to have this conversation with my students. I'm going to bring a lot of content and resources related to that. But if you're new to AI or you're working on AI and you feel like you're saying one thing and people are not hearing it, you're not getting buy-in in wherever you are, think about it. Are you dealing with AI in one of these dimensions, or is the person who's on the other end thinking about it differently? Maybe there's a disconnect there. So the other thing I do here is, so I promised you that I will talk to you about Bossware. That's a topic that I'm going to cover in AI today. The other thing is I usually go back to the activities that we have done in the week with my student alums and then share the resources. So one thing we have is Weekly Wednesday, which is a happy place online at Business School of AI, where my students come together, my student alums come together, and one of my student alum, Yashashwini Vishwanath, who's an AI researcher from Bangalore, hosts this and brings a speaker once a week, and we have like a live conversation. So we did this AI IoT day on the topic of AI research as a 24-hour event. So we're still bringing speakers from there. So Dr. Chitra Durai, Dr. Chitra Durai, I'm very big on spelling, so I don't want to, just give names and not allow you to get it right. So let me go back, share this screen. This is not Dr. Chitra Durai. This is the Weekly Wednesday with Chitra Durai. So I'm going to show you Chitra Durai in a minute. This is Dr. Chitra Durai. Just going to give you a random snippet. And this is her spelling, Chitra, Chitra Dorai. Do you see at the bottom of the screen here? Yeah.
We'll come to that. So at this point in time, with the demographic shifts happening right in front of our eyes, with the global age skewing towards the older age group, dementia and related diseases are becoming a major cause for concern. And that's where I wanted to spend the second half of my life trying to address that. So going back to Yash, so you might have heard of course, Alan Turing's Imitation game. So that he published the paper, right? Computing Machinery and Intelligence. That was the title of his paper, published in 1950. And he opens that paper with this amazing sentence. Even when I think about it today, I propose to consider the question, can machines think? So if you're a student of AI already, or you're planning to get into it, I would urge you to go read the paper.
That's awesome. So I'm going to pause here. So we had a conversation with Dr. Chitra Durai. She's an AI researcher. She was an AI research fellow at IBM and is an entrepreneur building out AI for dementia care, like she was talking about it. But we had a fun live conversation with her, and that is in our Weekly Wednesday. So if you're signed up to Weekly Wednesday, it's called Weekly Wed at Business School of AI, then you should get access to the recording, or everything we are discussing here plus all the links are going to be at my newsletter. So for those of you who are new, let me just go to Google here, bit.ly/Jamthe newsletter. If you want to sign up, you will get the email. If you don't want to sign up, you can remember the URL, bookmark it, and come back, watch it, come read it, right? That's also something you can do. So this goes out on Sunday. So the recording from Sudha Live will go here. And then, this is last week's recording where we had Dr. Chitra Durai. Please note her spelling. She's an amazing person. You should follow up Dr. Chitra Durai. And we will actually link to the recording right here. Okay. And one of the announcements we had was the United Nations World Innovation Day Hack 2022 that just kicked off today, Friday, April 29th, globally. So it started out already in Europe time, and it goes on till May 3rd. It's a hackathon. It's a global hackathon. It's amazing, amazing stuff. And because this is run by United Nations, when they started off, there was a kickoff, there was a launch, like an open ceremony, which had fantastic content. So I would urge you to follow them. If you're able to register and be part of the hackathon, that's great. It's free, or you can just watch the live stream. So that is already in our newsletter. And, we had Ruth Nuduta from Nairobi who came and talked to us about this also. And so we'll be sharing more about that. The other thing that happened was we had shared about this event, which happened yesterday as a kickoff, which is Women in AI USA. Women in AI, this is USA, which is just US based, but there are Women in AI organizations that are in Europe and different parts of the world. So the Women in AI USA runs their big hackathon. And this is not just a hackathon, like for those of you like in Silicon Valley, I've seen those, and a couple other countries we have that, where it's like a weekend event. You come in, pitch an idea, and you form a team, and you build out something by end of day Sunday, and you go home, and maybe you'll get some prizes or awards and stuff. That's amazing because you get to work with in a very intense space. But this one is you participate in the hackathon. The hackathon is going to be in June, and they had an open house, and so they've opened registration, Women in AI hackathon, and all you have to do is you sign up and you can join a team, and they have several different subcategories where you can go participate. And so we had Janya who came in and talked to us about it. Maybe I should just show you Janya's comment topic about this. Let me see. She was at Weekly Wednesday. Let me do justice to that.
With the main goal of including women in the AI space. So one of the things I'm involved in is the Women in AI Hackathon, and I see one of our team members here as well.
Are you guys seeing the recording? Are you seeing the share? Am I sharing? Oh, I'm not shared. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, let me go back. You just heard Janya's voice. Now you'll get to see her. Okay, so Janya is from Women in AI USA, and she's talking about this hackathon that you're invited to join, participate with other people in a team setting. And what they do is they did a kickoff event yesterday on Thursday, and they talked about it is not just about learning AI. They want to get more women into the AI field, but they take it to, they help you, they have mentors, they guide you to build out solutions, but then they guide you to be successful. So if you're working on a startup idea, or you have a business idea or some kind of problem you want to solve for your local area, or you just want to get into the AI field, there's so many possibilities. So here is Janya.
It's a hackathon that will be occurring June 10th to 12th. And one of the main reasons I'm coming on today is sort of to promote our hackathon open house launch, which will occur tomorrow. So
That's the one that happened.
In the chat, the link for that for you to register is by Eventbrite, and come on over, and then you'll hear everything about a hackathon that we had last year. This will be our second one. So we had our first one last year. It was really fantastic. We're hoping to improve and expand on it this year. So if you'd love to hear a bit more about what we have planned for this year, and just ask your questions about it, we'd love to see you there tomorrow.
Awesome. So that is one. And then we had another hackathon. We have another hackathon, the United Nations one that I told you about. Ruth, this is Ruth Niduta.
Pick whichever you want to take part in. So the first one involves Tech for Good, where it's all about using whichever idea that you have to just bring in, make sure you incorporate definitely the United Nations Sustainable Goals and say how we can use technology for good, especially to solve any social issues. Now, the second one, it might be a bit confusing with the first challenge, but that involves blockchain. So the first one for Tech for Good, you can do any technology. Then if you want to bring in blockchain, your challenge falls in challenge number 2, where they're looking to for social application or social use of blockchain to solve any social issues in line with the UN Sustainable Goals, which focus on decentralization, transparency, and security. And then,
okay.
And the final one is they're trying to find out about NFTs for good. So we've heard about the buzz in the NFT world. So they want to use this platform to see, apart from art and apart from tokens and all that, what else can NFTs do? How else can people benefit from NFTs? We have very good sponsors for each of the challenges: Oracle, Polygon.
Okay. So this is the United Nations challenge that I was telling you, hackathon. So there's a UN hackathon and there's the Women in AI USA hackathon. So there are two hackathons that the UN Nation hackathon is going on live currently, and you can participate. And the one that is with Women in AI, it just opened up for registration, and the actual hackathon is in June. So you have plenty of time to go, dip your toe, figure out, is this for you? Do you have an idea? Are there other team members you can collaborate with? What kind of guidance do you get? Does this look like something you want to do? And then there's plenty of time to do that. So I hope you will avail of both of those opportunities to go do that. And then I showed you the Jamthe newsletter. So you got a bunch of those. And you can always sign up to get the latest in that there. Okay, so the other exciting thing is many of you have seen Kiwibot, and my students have been to Kiwibot. So David Rodriguez from Kiwibot spoke to my Stanford class and Business School of AI last year. And I'm a big fan of Professor Selika Talbot. She is in the AV, autonomous vehicle space. And David's team, David and Pedro, went and visited Dr. Talbot's class in LA. So, and she focuses on transportation for urban planning. So congratulations. And here's Kiwibot. Kiwibot even actually does some kind of AIX design. So in my Barcelona technology class, where with the UX design AIX class, we are actually having students look at Kiwibot as a case study and to come up with the right AIX design, applying my AIX design framework. How do you personalize it, genderize it, humanize it, and the tone of conversation and all that good stuff. So congratulations, David and team from Kiwibot. What else is happening? I forgot to tell you this. So this is Journal of Kagawa University International Office from Kagawa University, where my paper got published. This is from a presentation we did at the conference. This is in Japan last fall, October timeframe. Dr. Charles Icahn, myself, and one of my students, Viola Mibach, who's an AIX designer from Europe, we published and presented a paper on character development for artificial intelligence. So that paper is out. So I'm very pleased about it. So that is out in the journal here. And all this journal work takes a long time. So, and you get peer reviewed, and they come back and ask you a lot of questions. And, after all that is done, it goes live, and then it's very fulfilling. It's very amazing. And the whole idea is when you do that with other people, it ends up, getting more visibility, and then you connect with like-minded people who are working on the same topic. So I've been working on character development, which is to add a layer of values as a character for an AI, and then build out the personality and other AIX design frameworks. So I have more papers coming up on that. So if that's an area of research, or you're working with an AI and you want to think about how do you build a human-centered interface, just talk to me. And as my students get ready from Barcelona Technology School and come up with that, if they're okay with it, maybe I'll invite them, or I will share some of that design with you. And before we close up, so we spoke about last weekly Wednesday, Dr. Chitradurai's talk, You Should Not Miss Life as an AI Researcher. That's on my YouTube, by the way, and we'll also get from the newsletter. Or if you signed up to Weekly Wednesday at Business School of AI, you will get access to it directly. And then we heard about 2 hackathons, the United Nations hackathon that Ruth Naduta was talking to us about, with NFT, blockchain, and sustainable goals from UN, AI for Good. So that's going on. You can still join it. And then the one from Women in AI USA, it sounds such an amazing opportunity. So I'll hope you tap into one of those. And for those of you who know me from my past, from PayPal, where I used to work in Developer Network, I love hackathons and meetups and dev camps. So, a version of this online, I've done this in person. So a version of it that's global, truly global, because it's online, is amazing for me. So I hope I will get to see at least some of this work to support that. And then we spoke about Professor Talbot's class and Kiwibot. And I cannot close the topic without telling you that we have a speaker next week on Weekly Wednesday to talk about autonomous vehicles. And here is a beautiful creative that our Weekly Wednesday host Yash has put together. So Marlena Love is going to be joining us from Minnesota, and she works on building, artificial intelligence for AI, which is the cognition by which the car sees the road. I've spoken a lot and thought about AI in the car, or data in connected vehicles and the like. This is about building the actual AI perception, which is the hardcore topic everybody loves whenever you hear about autonomous vehicles. So she's going to be talking to us. How does she do that? How does she bring her team to collaborate and to, process control and project management and everything to make this happen? So it's not just about a piece of code, a computer vision, and the AI sees the road, right? How do you do that in a company to build out that AI tech? So that's next Wednesday, our usual time, 9 a.m. PST, or 1 p.m. in Brazil, or 18 hours in Nigeria, or 18 hours in Europe. So hope you'll be able to join us. And it'll be hosted by Yash. And I hope I will hear a little bit about, Marlena's work in Minnesota, because she has this group. She's a founder of a group called MAIN, Minnesota Artificial Intelligence Network. And I want to know what's happening in the AV space there. So don't miss it. So the easiest way is, if you're already not signed up, you come to this bit.ly/weeklywed event. Or if you're already signed up for Business School of AI and click on Weekly Wednesday, you're already there, then you should be getting a Luma link. Luma is the platform we use so that you can get a reminder, and you can sign up and you can sign off and unsubscribe. And, we do GDPR compliance to make sure that if you're getting any emails, that it is respectful, and you have the choice to sign out anytime, so you won't hear back from us. But I hope you will be able to join us. And this will be a live Q&A, as always, at Weekly Wednesday. So that is the upcoming week. And the last topic I promised you is about Bossware. There's a Guardian article about that. I'm going to share that. Okay, right here. Okay, so this is an article from Guardian. Let me show the URL so you can catch that if you want. As I said, you're watching on LinkedIn or YouTube or Twitter. At least I will be sharing all these links back at the bit.ly Jamthe newsletter. But I'll also come and, post that back on Twitter and LinkedIn as comments. So you should be able to get all the links from there. Okay, so what is Bossware? So with the pandemic, increasingly we are working online, and more as we work online, and a lot of companies have made it like, you can work online remotely, that's fine. But there's a lot of monitoring software, which is monitoring employees. So that's broadly known as Bossware. And thank you for Joe Corbin for this wonderful article. I do not endorse brands, or, I don't endorse particular publications, but this is very well done. And, without sensationalizing the topic, because the topic by itself is sensational. Think of you being monitored on how you are working by your boss or by your company. And there's AI doing that. And all of us who are working in the AI space know that AI is biased, is buggy. So, how is it actually knowing what to track and what is it looking for? So there is one software which actually creates a risk score for employees to see whether they are a security risk for the company. It is so sad. It's so horrible to think that you'll be working for a company and they're collecting data to see whether you're a security risk when you don't mean to be a security risk. The other one, so that is this one is called remote desk. It's called work from home obedience. I hate the word obedience. It makes me feel creepy hearing the word obedience. So it's called remote desk. Obviously, there was a lot of bad tweets about it on Twitter. I had not seen that last time. Okay. So the other thing is they have a productivity score. Microsoft rolled out a product it called productivity score, which rates employee activity across all its different apps. And a lot of Microsoft apps and suites are used for workplace. It's called productivity because in workplace you use Word or Excel or the Office suite. It's called productivity, but they also added a productivity score, which is kind of figuring out whether the person is productive. So that got pulled back. And then there's another one which is called Prodo score. It monitors employees. And the thing that alarmed me was monitoring people like surveillance at work. That is itself wrong because that's kind of privacy invasion. But doing that without the consent of the employees is one thing. But the second, one of the things this article talks about is it's called Bossware. If you want to look it up, it's called Bossware is coming. Yeah. The one of the thing that was shocking is, remember we have spoken about emotions AI, and it is not built on sound social science as logic. So if you're looking at my face now and you're trying to guess what is her mood, what would you say it is? How would you know what I really feel on the inside while I'm talking to you here now? Am I happy because I'm talking to you? Am I hiding something else and I'm putting on a face and sounding happy? Or am I distracted? What is the point of even looking at somebody's face? And on top of that, the AI that trains such models is not built with enough inclusion data. So it might say, hey, this person with the long hair doesn't look like a person. Maybe it's a dog. And there are AI that does that. And especially we tested out for one of our research that one of the top tech vendors, and I don't want to keep calling names here, the AI that was, we tested out facial recognition of faces, and if men had unkempt, not like short beard, but if you had a beard that was long, like my long hair here, the AI won't recognize you as a person because it was not trained with enough training data inclusive of a person with long hair. So it's very risky that it is not inclusive. That's AI ethics 101. And the second thing is stretching it to do things which is privacy invading, that it does not ask for permission and kind of goes about saying, here's your security risk and whether you're going to create a security breach for the company, whether you're productive for the company. Based on that, they will fire people, they will give them promotions and bake in existing bias that people have to discriminate against employees is bad. And the third piece is to go and say, now we can understand the moods of people, emotions of people, is complete quackery. There's no other word to describe it. And that part is kind of creeping into this Bossware. So I just want you to be aware of it. Think of it as yourself on the receiving end. Think of your responsibility if you're going to be building such tech. Think of your responsibility if you're in HR or you're working with vendors to bring in new technology into your company like Bossware. What are you doing? What kind of questions can you ask so that you can do this right? There must be an underlying business reason of why this was justified and brought in the first place. So maybe there's a different way of solving for that business problem. So think about it. You don't need to all be mushy and say, okay, we are not doing this bad thing, and take a hard, bad, good or bad line on that. But think about how would you do this? Because AI is just a tool, and AI is intelligent only as long as you are intelligent in training it. So if it is not trained intelligently, then it is going to be unethical. So I think instead of the word AI ethics, we should call it dumb AI. Then everybody will understand what we're talking about. Unfortunately, it's just called AI ethics, which is to think about doing the right thing. Because at our core, I believe we all want to do the right thing, whether we are being monitored, whether we are being judged, whether we are building the tech, or we're just learning this new tech to get into a whole new field. So with that, I wanted to wrap up. So think about Bossware in your world, but think about what we learned from Paul English's suggestions on how he would improve Twitter and managing hate speech in social networks, or just get involved in one of the hackathons and think about social good and think about what you can do at the UN hackathon or Women in AI USA hackathon. There's so many more opportunities. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. And at the Jamthe newsletter, other than that, I will be bringing you jobs. One of the things I do is fellowships, call for papers, jobs, and all other opportunities, but I don't want to be just listing them here. So that's the other thing that you will have other than these links. So I hope you will benefit from that. And I hope to see you all online at Weekly Wednesday to talk about autonomous vehicles, my favorite topic, or if you're one of my students, hope this gives you an idea of what kind of things and resources are out there, and ask me questions so I can bring you more resources and we can have more conversations to go change your world. With that, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend. And I'll see you next week. Bye. I'm going to stop the recording here first, then the live streams. Yeah. And if you have written any comments or questions, I'll come back, and then I'll answer them slowly. So let me go stop the live stream.